Welcome, unprofessionals, to episode 60, Erika Garcia. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell your friends. This episode is brought to you by Disney+. Disney+. All hail our overlords. Stay tuned till the end so you can find out what's your exit ticket this week.
Today's podcast is presented by Podgo. Podgo is the easiest way for you to monetize your podcast, providing podcasters with a flat rate for ad space so you always know how much you get when you include an ad from Podgo. I recently joined as a member, and you can too. Apply today to become a member and immediately be connected with the advertisers that fit your audience. That's podgo.co at podgo.co.
And please put unprofessional development in the How Did You Hear About Podgo? That will give us a little finder's fee. Thank you.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to yet another exciting episode of Unprofessional Development. I am Disco.
And I'm Mealy, and today we have with us Erika Garcia. She's apparently a flying monkey, which is awesome. I don't know if that's a Wizard of Oz reference or whatever, but we'll find out. Met her on the Twitter, chit-chatted, and she's like, I don't know who tweets more, but we're up there in terms of tweets per day. You're I think some days you beat me and some days I beat you.
TPD? Is that tweets per day?
Tweets per day? Yes. That's
Awesome. How you doing today, Erika?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, and I can't remember what we were going back and forth about, and then I jumped in a DM and said, "Hey, would you like to be on the podcast?" I don't know if we were talking about podcasting, and so at that point she had never been on a podcast. Have you still never been on a podcast, or have you done one since we arranged this?
Yeah. So that was not that long ago. This is actually my fourth. So
somehow between you agreeing to be on mine and this recording, you've been on 4 podcasts?
I think people heard I was going to be on yours, and then they were like, let's sign this girl up.
Okay, well, obviously, while those might be...
Pro bump. Yeah.
Yes. This, of course, though, this will be the definitive Erika Garcia interview, though, obviously. Those are like those off-Broadway things that,
Those are dress rehearsals.
They won't show up on her IMDb page. This one right here will be right at the top.
The good news is that when, people say dress rehearsals are really, really messy, the real production is good.
Yes.
I think we're there.
There we go. Okay, Cool.
Yeah.
So all the nerds are gone. So I bet you they didn't ask you this question, though. So describe your educational career as a Yelp review.
Oh, dear. No, that was not asked. It's typically, tell us about yourself and what educational background you have.
Yes.
Good.
Please read your resume in the calmest monotone you have.
So, a Yelp review, okay.
Yeah.
So it probably would not necessarily go into my career as much as who I am. So
okay, cool.
I feel like my star rating would be 3, okay?
Oh, okay.
Yelp okay. 5, right?
Yes.
Okay, so 3. I'm messy.
Uh-huh.
But I'm kind, right?
Okay.
I make funny jokes, but I make them at the most inappropriate times.
Awesome. Oh, there we go.
I'm likely the reason that compliance training exists at the beginning of school years.
Cool. Oh, there you go. Good stuff.
90% of what I say is golden. The other 10% is definitely a liability.
Oh, nice.
But he loves kids.
There we go. Awesome. There we go. That's fantastic. That's really, really good.
Well, thank you.
Yes, and we give you 5 stars, obviously.
3-star Yelp reviews are the most honest, though.
That's true.
Right.
1-star reviews are really about the person who wrote them, and 5-star reviews means someo's getting paid. So,
yes, 5 stars reviews are mostly fake. Yeah.
Right. I think we all know that none of us in education are getting paid enough.
There you go. Oh, okay.
Fantastic. Okay, so are you are currently a instructional what is your official position at this point?
That's a really good question. Quarterback. No.
Nice.
No, I'm an instructional coordinator. So I know, and it's funny, the kids never know what that means either. They're like, what do you do? And I'm like, well, just the stuff, I would say so.
You get the principal their coffee and their dry cleaning. That's
actually, sometimes I do, but she also politely brings me coffee as well. So very lucky. So my position, like, it is not necessarily very telling of what I do. It's instructional coordinator, but it is most similar to an assistant principal role because I do have evaluation and discipline on my plate, in addition to, being the data coach and all of that, like being our, PLC coach, all of those things. But I do have that piece of administration. So
that's a lot of hats.
yes.
It's a ton of hats, but it's perfect for me because I like that every day is a little bit different. And
I was going to say, do you know when you get to work what you're going to do or never? So you just kind of like figure it out once you get there and then just do whatever comes next, or?
Yeah, typically. So this year's been a little bit different because we actually do have instructional coaches in addition to my position, which, they're my team. So we have a reading specialist, or we have reading specialists, a literacy coach, and a math specialist.
Okay. You're in elementary or middle or high?
I'm elementary.
Okay.
So, yeah. I mean, I did spend some time in middle school as well. But I'm back in elementary. And so our math specialist is actually currently in a classroom as a result of he's working from home.
Okay.
So I absorbed his role as well, so math specialist and my role. So now I do see some kids for intervention, and that is a consistent part of my day. But outside of that, it's literally what text message is going to come in and what fire am I going to have to put out.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah, but my staff, they're amazing. It's an amazing building. Our kids are great. Like when I say I work on discipline, it's like literally the type of environment that dreams are made of as far as
that's awesome. Which I mean, also, I guess discipline in COVID, like no one's getting into a fight or like lighting things on fire in the bathroom or,
They might be, but that's their parents' problem.
Yes. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
that's me. I'm the one that they have to stop from doing that. Right?
Nice.
I'll
Mr.
show
Kia,
you
please
how
put the
to
fire
do it.
down.
Right?
Yes.
So, yeah.
Oh,
It's
cool.
a great role.
But before this, you were a teacher.
Yeah. So I've been in education for 22 years. So my first 17 years were in the classroom as either an elementary teacher or a middle school social studies and ELA teacher. And then eventually I ended up moving into a literacy coaching role. I never thought I'd be out of the classroom. Like, I absolutely adore kids. They're the best part of this job. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. So, and then I took my literacy coaching job, and then I was actually asked to take a math specialist position, or asked to apply, and I did. And I laughed at that because I'm the kind of person that is a great math specialist because I know all the ways you can mess up math.
nice.
So it was great, though. I loved it. And then this position became available. And at the time, I actually was not certified as an administrator because, again, I never saw myself out of the classroom. But the second that I understood the way that your sphere of influence changes when you become an administrator or somebody in that type of role, like, oh my gosh, I was like, I want to be an administrator. Like, I want to have, that impact on all students. So I actually went back and I got my master's in administration in a year. I was 14 credit hours a semester.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
A full-time student and a full-time educator.
Wow.
Yeah.
So just math, English, social studies, and administration. Other than that, you're just
Right.
totally
Yeah.
cleared.
Yeah. So no gym, art, or music.
Well, I do have my library certification as
Oh.
special district certification. So here's why. Okay.
Boy, I always want to make fun of librarians all the time, and I try my best not to because I don't.
They're amazing. They're amazing.
They're wonderful. They're wonderful people. I have no idea how I had someone that had gotten their master's in library science, and I'm like, I don't know how that's a thing, but okay, good for you. So I'm making somebody mad right now, but that's just, I'm still baffled. Explain it to me. Go for it.
I'm evaluating these people, right?
Yeah.
So I need to know what the heck I'm evaluating people on. So the way that I am held accountable is a test. Like, if you give me a test, I have to study for it. So in the state of Missouri, which is where I am, obviously you can test into certification once you have, different certifications. And so I sign up for the tests simply to hold myself accountable for being able to give people good feedback, which is
right. Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. So you're like, if I'm building a house, I'm going to learn how to put in a toilet and put in a light switch and tile the floor and paint, and so that if I talk to the plumber, he's going to know that I know what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. And also, like, the SSD thing, actually, special school district certification came because I'm sitting in IEPs all the time and I'm supposed to be advocating for kids. Well, how do you advocate for a kid if you don't necessarily know, like, what the laws are or what, is supposed to be happening for a child during that process? So again, take the test. If I hold myself accountable to a test, I'm going to study.
Okay.
I appreciate that. I do.
Yeah.
I kept telling myself for years that I wanted to learn how to play guitar, and like I kept kind of pushing it off. So one day I just went down to a coffee shop and just set up a day where I would go in and play guitar for the night.
Oh, wow.
All right, I need an hour by then.
Right.
Wow.
Need a deadline.
See, that's the thing. Hard deadlines are a good thing when you're like trying to prepare for something, or at least they are for me. I mean, I'm going to wait till the last minute, but
Oh yeah. Because when it comes to procrastination, I'm a pro.
Okay.
Right.
Like,
all right. So, so what you're trying to say is what someone needs to do is, like, when they're going to their like maybe their daughter's wedding, that they buy a tuxedo that's 2 sizes too small, so that they have to fit into it by the day of the wedding. Is that what you would recommend to Disco? Go ahead. Or Erika. I don't care who recommends.
No, I would love to hear your answer to this because I know what mine is.
Oh, my recommendation would be, I never recommend for people to lose weight. Life's too short. Eat the good food.
Right. Eat the cake.
There we go. Okay. Okay. Did you have a different answer, Erika?
No, I would definitely buy a dress that was 2 sizes too small. But then the day before the wedding, when I didn't lose the weight, I would convince the bride why I should be able to wear something different.
Nice. Yes.
I should stand out. I know it's your day, but right.
Yeah, see, to Disco, you could have just shown up with like a karaoke machine and just and done that instead of learning guitar. That would be the go ahead.
That would have been way smarter. Way smarter. Probably way more enjoyable too for the audience. I would say, because if I bought something like a tuxedo 2 sizes too small, that wouldn't teach me to lose weight. That would just teach me how to hem and sew.
Nice.
And
That's
what
true.
what really is the life skill here? I mean,
yeah, there we go.
There you go.
Right.
Wow. Which I would say, we did kind of like set like a deadline for when our first episode of the podcast was coming out to kind of manipulate ourselves into getting some episodes recorded. I kind of do remember doing that. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, because otherwise I never would have.
Right. Yeah.
So, it's all right. So, Erika, back in the day, so when you were a teacher in that classroom every single day, right? Not that you're still not teaching, and not that you're still not in the classroom, but like when that was your one hat, how did you feel about admin? How did you feel about the people who were there to instruct and coach you?
So, authority scares the hell out of me. You say hell? Oh God! I said hell. I'm sorry, but like, okay, so. I do think part of that is having anxiety a little bit, but did you
freak out when you were being observed?
Oh, I mean, yes, of course. Like every single time an administrator, even to this day, asked me to meet, I'm like, sure, I burn the school down, even though it's July and I haven't been there in months, right?
Right,
like,
right.
Pick up the phone. Am I fired?
Right. Like, if there's a blanket email that's put out about like stealing a computer or anything like that, I'm like, sure, it's me, even though, like I haven't touched their technology.
Nice. Nice.
I think that's, not just about having anxiety, really. I think it's also about being a teacher and having imposter syndrome. I think imposter syndrome is really real within the field of education.
Mm-hmm. Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Yes. So, I've had really great administrators and then some not so great administrators. We all have, I'm sure.
Right.
But I feel like the ones, like don't or didn't give me that feeling were the ones that knew how to do the right thing for the right person at the right time,
Yeah.
So now that I'm on more of the administrative side, I feel like it's all about knowing your people. Who are your people? And like what is the way in which you should interact with those people or appreciate those people? So I feel like one of the things that I strive for is to, as an administrator, just to be somebody or, like as a pseudo administrator, hopefully, I'm an aspiring principal, but I think important for people to feel normal around you, like just to, and that was a hard thing for me just because, authority, not always my friend, right?
Right. Yeah, so kind of like related to that. And I think a lot of that comes from the trust and them feeling normal around you. They trust that they can be themselves, around you. So how do you build that trust with your teachers that you are over? And is that similar? What are the similars and differences in how you would have built trust with the students when you were a classroom teacher?
So I actually think trust is the through line to everything in education. If people don't trust you, then they're going to constantly be waiting for the other shoe to drop. We have to calm everybody's amygdalas down so that they can be their best selves. And I think that that's done through trust. But, trust isn't built in a day. That's about as effective as a one-shot professional development experience.
So we just can't just do like where you have the people fall and you catch them and now all of a sudden they trust you the rest of the year? If we do that on day one?
No.
I thought that's how you build trust.
What if you say something inspiring and then there's a slow clap that builds up? Does that get everybody to trust you?
Okay.
You two just literally explained the plot line to Mean Girls, just so you know. But no, I think trust is built in short bursts. It's short, consistent bursts. Like, it's not, one shot. It's not sit and get, it's these little short bursts. Like, I like to think about myself as an administrator as like Coach Popovich, what good people do.
And Disco has no idea who Coach Popovich is, and I'm trying to think who Coach Popovich is.
Oh my gosh. So if you've never read the book, The Culture Code by Daniel Coyle, he does the best job of talking about Coach Popovich. So.
Okay. He's an NBA coach?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. San Antonio? Is that right or am I wrong?
I think you're right.
Doesn't matter.
I like him. Yay, sports, right? So
yes. If two dope teachers were here, they would straighten us out. And I know you're buddies with them too. Yes.
Hit the point.
Yes.
Hit the ball, right? So no, I think it's about, one of the things that I feel like, we need to be doing as people who are trying to build trust is, listening more than we're talking, but doing both with intentionality, celebrating victories, but owning our realities, being vulnerable, taking risks together. And to do any of those things, it comes down to one thing. It's, do you know your people? You have got to know your people, be it students, be it teachers, whoever it is. You have to spend the time building relationships and building that trust. And again, it's not going to happen in a day. It's not going to happen, it's not going to happen in a month. It happens consistently over time, and it's all dependent on those little short interactions that you have with one another throughout the course of, the days consistently.
Well, I mean, there's alternatives though, and I just want to put this out there for some of you that want to build trust quickly. There's actually a study shown. They did it in, I think it was Sweden or whatever, where if you hold people hostage for just a couple days, that they will trust you. So it was Stockholm that they did that. So that's a quick solution to building trust is Stockholm Syndrome.
So I know the quickest way to lose trust though. Here's what it is.
What's that?
Kidnapping?
Hide the remote. Like in your hide the remote. Because I swear to God, all trust goes out the window. It's like all of a sudden you're like, oh, I love you so much, little child. And then you're like, where did you put it? You were the last one with it. I know you were.
Oh my. Yes, definitely.
Misplace your cell phone and then blame the kids. That's another fun one too.
Right. Yes.
Oh,
Meanwhile,
God.
it's in your pocket or your sunglasses, which are on your head all the time. Yeah.
Right.
Oh. To Disco, did I ever tell that story how I messed with my boss with the clock? Have I told that or no?
No.
God.
Which
This is
job
when I
was
worked. This is when I worked as a bug man. I was an exterminator way back about 20 plus years ago. And so my boss, speaking of, there's all this grace, and we talk about grace and giving kids a chance and all that. So he was like way ahead of the curve on that. So he didn't want his employees who were late to be seen as late. So he moved the clock where you punch the time card, he put it back 5 minutes. Okay? And so this is pre-cell phone and all that kind of stuff. Well, I worked in that job in the evening. We did restaurants and hospital cafeteria, stuff like that. Anyway, we sprayed where the places need to be closed when we were spraying for bugs. So we worked from 5 p.m. to 2 a.m. So the business normally wasn't, we had a key and we would go in, we would clock in, but the boss normally wasn't there when we got there. So, but I had worked during the daytime before, and I knew that he had messed with the clock. And it would make me, well, actually, I knew I was frustrated because I'm like, I wasn't supposed to clock until 5 o'clock. And like, now I have to wait until it's there because he's moved it back. So there were 2 clocks in the office. So it was a common area where like the secretaries were and the workers would be before they left to go out to kill bugs. And then there was like 2 individual offices where the co-owners each had their own little office. So there's a big clock in the main office. So what I would do is I would move that clock 5 minutes slow. And then I would go in the clock that was on his desk and I would move that 5 minutes fast. So then a month later, I would flip it. And I would make the other one 5 minutes slow and the other one 5 minutes fast. And I would do this every month or 2 and never ever said a word to him.
Oh.
Yeah, so I'm a bad person.
Like an imp.
Right.
You're a gremlin.
Yes.
Right. How not to build trust.
Yes.
And we circled back.
I talked to him like literally like 3 years later after I'd like wasn't working there anymore and all this kind of stuff. Because this guy was such a great guy. He literally let me stay at his house for free in Key Largo for my honeymoon. So he was a great guy. I don't know why I was a complete imbecile to him. Because I'm a moron, that's why. Because I just like messing with people. And I told him, I said, remember? I said, I used to do this thing to your clock. And it was like, oh my, he was like, oh, you, and it's like, man, I had no idea what was going on. It was just driving me crazy.
You made a grown man question his sanity.
I did.
For the lulz.
I really did. Oh, terrible, terrible person I am. Okay.
At the same time.
I mean,
but it's fun to do that. Just go into someone else's classroom if you have a master key and just move the stapler every day. Just do that.
No, like, at my last job, when I was gone, they would always, like, I hate horses. Like, I'm terrified of horses.
Sneaky feet.
Oh, God, they're terrible. They're terrible things. But every time I was gone, there would be something to do with horses that people would, like, do. So one time I was gone and I came back, and I'm not kidding you, my walls were totally wallpapered in horses.
Nice. Or not nice.
No, not nice. Another time, my stapler, which is what you just mentioned, actually, they put it in a vat of Jell-O.
The office thing. Yes.
Just like that, and it was my red swing line. Like, honestly, I was really like, yeah. So yes, I don't like being messed with, and people know that, so then they mess with me harder. So thank you for being one of those people.
Yes, you're welcome.
I think I told you this story, Mealy. So this had happened when I was still a beginning teacher. I had a student who really struggled with sanity, like on a deep level. And so they would like get up and dance, and they'd sometimes talk in word salad. So they started telling people and making notes in their notebook about how much they loved me.
Yes, you did tell the story.
Got a little crush on me.
Yes.
And so I had to tell my admin, and I told my team, and I was panicked about this because I'm like, here's this kid who can say anything because things just come out of their mouth, and like I'm very worried for my job.
Yes, they might have had like some kind of visual impairment as well if they were attracted to you. So that's just we want to put that out there, okay? Maybe undiagnosed, but anyway, go ahead.
So I told my team, and so their way to comfort me, since they knew this insane student of ours would like get up and dance around their desk and whatnot, is they put up signs all around my room that said, "Hold me closer, tiny dancer." And would blast it in the hallways. And none of the kids would get it. Right? But
you had to go on professionally for the rest of the day.
Yes. Good times.
Was it good times?
Yeah, it is. When you're pulling practical jokes, it really doesn't matter if the other person is traumatized or has some kind of, has to go into therapy, whatever it is. As long as you're having fun, that's the main thing. Just take care of yourself first, okay? Self-care, baby. Self-care is important. So you got to do that. Yeah. Go out and Stick a fish in your neighbor's trunk of their car if they leave it open. Okay, take care of that. Do that. You'll feel good about yourself.
Oh my
Yeah. Yeah, again, not like other podcasts, Erika. See, now you know what you signed up to. They didn't bring these as the kids say, gems,
Right. I love it.
Hey, unprofessionals. This here's another one of them there commercials. Okay. It's for a good friend, Alex Pimentel. Yeah, he used to be a math teacher. Now he does taxes. Okay? You want your taxes done by a math teacher. You want to make sure it's done right. Just like those other things you have math teachers do when you struggle with, have a math teacher do your taxes. Or if you are a math teacher and you just don't feel like doing it, you just send it on to him. All right? His prices are reasonable, starting at $75. He can do all 50 states. I live in Arizona, but I work in Oklahoma. Okay? Who are you, King Tut? But anyway, sorry, Steve Martin fans. But well, it's an old reference. Going back to the 70s for some of you guys. You want to get your taxes done, but you don't feel like doing them. So you go to PimentelGarcia.com. The connection's in the show notes down there. You just go down to the show notes, you click on that, it takes you to the website, you connect with Alex there. He does your taxes for you, gets them done lickety-split. All right? So that's what you need to do. So thank you guys. Thank you for supporting a teacher who is trying to go out and get a little business started. We appreciate you. And now, back to the wonderful show.
I have this question. I don't know if you'll even have an answer. So you run professional developments then when you see like teachers need it in your school?
I do, yes.
Like as one of your many, many hats?
Yes, one of my many, many hats. Yes, is yes, I am our professional development person.
So let me ask you this, because I've always wondered this. Do you do differentiated PDs? And if so, how? And if not, why not?
So this year actually was supposed to be our first year of personalized PD. And so I was...
PPPD.
PPD. That sounds like...
That means something else.
Right?
Yes.
I feel like that feels like, like something...
The masks that we're wearing.
Yes.
Oh, no. Oh, yeah, that too. I was going to say something like on an infomercial where you're supposed to like...
Yes, you have some issues. Yes.
Right. So, so I was actually kicking off personalized PD this year. So we have student growth goals that we set at the beginning of the year. And so one of the things I was asking teachers to do is to just come up with a personalized professional development plan around that student growth goal. So however it is that you want to dig deeper into what you're going to do in order to that goals, and then come together, and kind of talk, because I think one of the things that happens with us regarding professional development or the, PLC process is that we all do things the same. And so when we do things the same, we don't yield different results. And then we don't really have any, conversation that we can possibly have around, like what's working, what's not working. So that was the big plan. And then, this year happened and our professional development turned into how do you keep students 6 feet apart? And, how do you properly tell kids to pull up their masks? And so it's gone a little bit, it hasn't gone the way in which that we hoped. But we have just tried to intersperse that professional, personalized process. So we've been doing a lot of ed camps where we just kind of on the spot, or the last time we did one, I put out a survey to our staff that said, what are some things you're curious about that will help you be better today for students tomorrow? And so then people kind of sent in different things, and I looked for themes within what they were submitting, and then created just, Zoom rooms based on those particular themes. And it was really organic, no facilitator. I did put together some facilitating questions, but that was probably one of the PDs we got the most positive response.
Nice. Yeah.
People choose what they wanted to do. And the other thing is that I always have an independent study option. So if something appeals to you, then, I trust you regardless of what you're doing to, develop from a professional perspective. And people say, well, what if you plan? So what if they plan? What if they actually intentionally plan to be better for kids? That's professional development in some way. And it is going to make you better today, for students tomorrow. So I have a lot of trust, around
Excellent. Excellent. I was going to say something that I suggested multiple times to different administrators, and tell me what you think about this. Because sometimes you don't have a choice. Sometimes there's something that comes from the district or the state or whatever that we have to do training X because it's the new thing that district or the state has decided. And my thing is, instead of having me sit there for an hour, because maybe I've been around the block, and this is the third time if you've been teaching for 15, 20 years, that this thing is the new thing again, even though it was like the new thing 20 years ago and it came back. So how about if there is, speaking of being able to test, because you talk about being able to test into getting your license or whatever, why don't you give me like a 10-question quiz, and if I can answer that,
right,
I don't have to do the professional development. Or I get like 7 out of 10 right, and you go, okay, well, here's the 3 things you need to learn about. Just figure this out, and then I'll give you your credit towards this thing. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's a good idea. So one of the things I think about is that we can never know everything about something, right?
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that happens with kids, and it happens with us, is that if we're assigned something in which we're not interested in or we're not excited about, then what it does is it kills our learning for a period of time. So if we do a book study and we have no interest in the book, or we've read the book or whatever, all we're doing is walking around with this book, dreading reading it, and becomes a job. So if we look at things from the perspective of themes, so if our theme is student engagement, for example, or, SEL, or, like whatever it is, then, what about having somebody, having a variety of resources of which somebody can choose from and put together their own plan?
Yeah.
Because that allows people who are in different places to explore resources, that are different. And if one article takes you down a different path, but it still has to do with that theme, that's okay. You can reconfigure your plan. But I think choice is important. Without choice, we become compliant. So I do think, regardless of what we do, whether it be a pre-test and or allow people to put together a plan based around a certain theme, people should have a choice in the way in which they grow, because that's what's going to help them grow the most, and that's what's going to intrinsically motivate people.
Yeah. And semi-related to that, I'm gonna bang this drum till I'm no longer a teacher. This is the next thing here that's kind of related to that. So I'm getting on my soapbox here. But so principal, if you're listening, okay, here's what I want you to do. The next time you have an hour-long faculty meeting planned, I know that there is some stuff that people require that it has to happen in person, and you have no way around it, and other stuff that doesn't have to happen in person. Okay? A, put it in an email, but B, along with the email, put a link to a Kahoot, a Quizzes, a Google Form, something, and so that the teachers can show that they actually digested that information and know it, rather than they sat in a room while they were on their phones, and then they asked their friends after the meeting, what did he actually say, or what did she actually say?
Neely, I find that offensive. Sometimes during that meeting, I'm grading papers.
You could be grading papers. I'm sorry. And then here's what happens. So what happens is the first 10 minutes of the meeting are the things that we absolutely have to be in person for. There's no way around this being in person. At which point you go, hey, if you got an 80 on the Quizzes, you can go now. All of you people that didn't read my email and didn't take the Quizzes, you're going to stick around, And I really, really, really think, and it sounds funny, it sounds silly, and it's goofy and whatever, but I really, really think that people would actually know so much more of what you want them to know, because I've left so many faculty meetings where people are like, well, what are we actually supposed to do now? What form do we need to fill out? What do I?
Next step?
Yeah, and have no idea, because they were like talking to their neighbor, they were on their phone, they're grading papers, they're doing all these kind of things, and they have, meanwhile, if they've been told, and then admin's like, well, I said it at the faculty meeting, so everyone should know what to do now. And then the next day, when we're all supposed to like stand, with our left foot up in the air when the kids come in, like half the people have the right foot up, half people have no foot up, and like, what, don't you paying attention to the meeting yesterday? No. Okay.
No.
So.
No, but I will say, so I think that there's something to be said for flipped professional learning, or staff meetings, or whatever it is. So there are a ton of things that can be taken care of from the perspective of an email. And I want to be able to trust you professionally that if I push it out there, that you're going to do it. But I think staff meetings should really be about like, okay, so you all had some time to digest this information. How are we now going to apply it? And so when you're coming in, it's like the stuff that could be taken care of by email is taken care of. And the action steps are what we focus on at the staff meeting.
Yeah.
So,
Are you actually suggesting that the staff meeting should be about the whole staff?
I mean,
What kind of backwards thinking is that? It's clearly a principal's meeting.
That's true. They should call it the principal's meeting.
It's just an idea. I mean, just a thought, I think about it a lot. I've started interviewing for principal positions, and the staff meeting question comes up all the time. Like, what would you use it for?
Nice.
And I think, what we need to use it for is, building collective vision, voice, and following through on it, as opposed to me telling you the things. I don't need to tell you the things.
Yeah, read a laundry list to us. Yeah.
Well, look at what we've done in the last year of education. We know how to flip learning in some ways, or, like asynchronous learnings, and the synchronous part should be, okay, great. So like, what are the action steps, and, what do they look like and feel like from our perspective, from each perspective?
Yeah. I feel like I've shared this before, but I think it's been a long time since I've shared it. So my dad, there's an episode where my dad's on the podcast. And so if you ever want to listen to that, just go back to episode 49. So my dad was telling me this story. He taught for 39 years in Philadelphia, and they have strong unions up there. Yeah. And so they would have the union meeting at like some big like arena where they had, so they all, like the day after they'd signed like a big contract for 3 to 5 years, whatever it would be. And they would kind of announce all the things that they had gotten in the contract. And I guess it's probably some kind of yay or nay vote as well. I don't know. But he said, so they're up there and they're kind of running through the stuff, Hey, we got you guys a 6% raise. Yay. Okay. We also got the insurance to be this. Yay. We've got this thing done with leave. Yay. He said, we got it into the contract that if it is in writing, it is not allowed to be read aloud to you at a meeting.
Oh, wow.
He said the place, they were like standing and screaming. People like literally were like, I don't care about a raise. No one's going to read the bullet points off the PowerPoint off me. Woo! Hallelujah.
Mealy, so you're the second teacher, or this is the second story of a teacher from Pennsylvania who told me that. And the first teacher who told me that, I didn't believe them. Yes, I've heard that before.
Wait, why are we making a podcast again?
Because we like to watch movies and yell about them.
They yell about directors, yell about the plot, yell about the acting, but they also talk a lot. But mostly Josh and Cassie yell about the movies.
Hey everybody, I'm Cassie.
And I'm Josh.
And we are the hosts of the brand new podcast, Josh and Cassie Yell About Movies.
Each week we're breaking down a different film and sharing our unique perspectives and holding nothing back.
And fair warning, this is a spoiler-heavy podcast, so yeah, just be aware of that, please.
Do we make jokes, or is there anything else?
Gosh, I hope so. I have fun laughing at you.
Well, thanks. And we yell about movies, is that right?
That's right. We upload new episodes on Tuesdays, so hopefully we'll see you then.
Thanks for listening.
Okay, so now I got like.
You want to take the hot take question?
Yes, I do. So this is a good one. We got you warmed up here, and we're gonna get you here. So you can agree, disagree. You can kind of you can flip flop or whatever you need to do with it. Okay, but this is a feeling of mine that a majority of admins are workaholics, which skews the way that they see the load the teachers have. And when they give us that one more thing and they say, oh, I'm sorry to give you the one more thing, but because they are workaholics and so many admins have no work-life balance because they work like 14 hours a day, that they don't understand how that affects, teachers. And by the way, I made sure I wrote affect versus effect because I got that one right to this go. But it's not special effects. That's how I remember that. But what's your, just give me your hot take on that, on admins being workaholics and then not understanding that
Really wrong.
Yeah, prove me wrong or prove me right, that they don't get how their expectations for teachers need to be different from what their expectations are for themselves, I guess.
So, all right. I don't know that I agree or disagree. And I know that sounds neutral.
No, that's fine.
But, like, here's the thing. Like, admin are not monoliths, right? Like, you know, some are definitely workaholics.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Some are not. You know,
that's
some
true.
Actually, I feel like are not. So I will say that while some are, I still don't think that that's where the one more thing mentality comes from, or that one more thing mentality won't kill you comes from. I actually, I really think it comes from losing perspective. I think either people didn't spend long enough in the classroom or they spent too long out of the classroom. So I do think it's not so much about, you know, the one more thing and not understanding, or a one more thing and I'm a workaholic, so you can do this, you know, like pick yourself up, you know, and do this. I think it's just a lack of perspective. And I think we need to be more intentional about perspective taking. I actually think that admin should regularly shadow a teacher. So be it once a month or whatever the case, one day, once a month, you know, shadow the same teacher for, you know, a year or whatever it is. Or,
we would have to take naps together if they shadowed me then, but anyway, go ahead.
Well, but I do think there's something to be said for that perspective. And I think the same thing, if you're a teacher, I think you should, or an administrator, I think you should shadow kids too. Like figure out, find out what it feels like. And I really mean that from the perspective of like, what does it feel like to have to wake up at 5 o'clock to get on a bus to ride to school for 45 minutes to then, you know, like, you know, think about, you know, go through all of these days in which there are so many transitions, or when you're online, you know, think about what it feels like. So I do think just doing some intentional exercises around that perspective building is important.
That's awesome.
But I also think that, you know, as administrators, I think we become also inundated with one more thing to do. And so we become efficient. And I think with that efficiency comes a little bit of the omission of collective voice. We never, I shouldn't say never. That's a big statement. But a lot of times there are things that impact teachers and we're making decisions about them without ever hearing from the teachers. Yeah. So if it impacts the people, then they should be in the room. So, you know.
I get how, like, in the moment that must feel more efficient. Like, let me just roll this out and make this plan for everybody instead of getting a survey and collecting data and having the arguments with that teacher who's always complaining, and let me just do it. But it actually makes everything so much smoother if you do that work ahead of time, though.
Yeah.
And you do their work, really, I mean, proactively. I think one of the reasons why we had such a difficult time in some ways transitioning over to asynchronous learning and or, you know, like just, you know, this whole process of going online with learning. Right. I think part of that was that, you know, we didn't necessarily spend the time that we needed to prepare our culture in case something happened. So when something did happen, we had to react rather than, you know, like, have a plan, because there are going to be things that happen. So much of this work, so much of what a principal does or what an administrator does is 80% proactive, and it involves knowing what lies below the surface. So if you do have to make a decision quickly, you're at least making it knowing what the people would say. And of course, you're going to have to make decisions as an administrator that, you know, people don't agree with. But even when they don't agree with it, if your walk and talk is consistent, they'll know why you made the decision.
Yeah. And that's where the trust comes in too.
Right. Of course. It's consistency. It really is.
Yeah.
Any admin, we're going to have to put out something from district that is stupid and going to waste everyone's time, and everybody knows it. But if it's someone you trust, you can say, okay, I know we can get through it. And if somebody you don't trust, you say, like, I bet you they did that just to piss me off.
Right. That's exactly right, though. Like, you will frame an experience based on the amount of trust that you have in the person who is presenting the experience, you know?
Yeah. Which one was that? Ethos?
Ooh, look at you.
Going Greek.
Yeah. I had, speaking of perspective, and I now say this normally to like one teacher or another almost every year, because it may be my second or third year that I got this perspective. So I don't know about where you are, but where we are very often, and maybe this is going to change with this whole pandemic thing because it changed this year, but normally the norm was for years, the first 4 or 5 days that we're like at school before the kids show up, like the week before, it was like PD, lunch, PD, you know, maybe one of the days you're actually allowed to be in your classroom and set up your classroom or meet with your PLC to kind of prepare. But there was like normally, at least 2 or 3 days where it was just wall to wall PD where you were in 4 to 5 sessions.
Right.
And I would walk out of the 4th or 5th session and the teacher would look at me and they go, "Oh my goodness, this is just unbelievable that we have to do this." I said, "Hold on." I said, "This is what our students do every day." They are in.
Right.
They are in 4 different rooms, 7 different rooms, depending on what kind of scheduling you're on when you're in middle school and high school, where there is a different person that is expecting them to learn a different thing, like for like an hour, and then they get a shabby lunch, and then they have to go do it again, and then they have to do something after. Like, if you have not bought into the don't give the kids homework because 7 hours is enough time for them to be in school, then they have to do like something else before they come back. And like, I'm like, so when you're thinking about designing your lessons and whether or not you should take breaks or not, or whether or not you should like expect kids to maybe not remember what you said because they heard 6 other lessons that same day where they were expected to remember 17 different things. So the next day when they don't remember what you said, there's a good reason for that. Their brains were literally being like force fed all day long yesterday. So guess what? You might have to repeat some things a few times for certain kids. Yeah.
So I say the same thing about, teachers when it comes to, so, you know, having served as a middle school teacher as well as an elementary teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have, you know, a lot of our content coordinators are secondary teachers that aren't necessarily familiar with elementary, but I say the same thing about elementary teachers is that, like, you know, because we've said something about English, you know, and you wanted it to stick, it like, each course for an elementary teacher is a blip on their radar. Like,
yes.
You know, like, so I think it's fantastic that we're sitting here thinking like, oh, you know, like I told them that about social studies. I'm not sure why they didn't hear it. Well, they didn't hear it because they also learned, you know, like what they were supposed to do in math and ELA and social studies and science. And let's not forget, we have to take care of the student's social emotional learning needs as well. So it's like, it's the idea of making sure that, we really focus in on like, what are the must knows, you know, like what are the should knows? And then, you know, like what are the, you know, like nice to knows, you know, I call them boulders, rocks, and butterflies.
Nice.
Like,
wow. Boulders, rocks, and butterflies.
So like, what are the boulders and how do I make sure that the boulders stick, you know? And that's true with PLCs. It's true with teachers. But you just actually made me think of something that was really important. I think it's that one of the things that we do with students that I think we don't necessarily do when teachers come into a brand new fresh year is spend some time building culture. You know, like we don't get kids to jump into the learning day one. I mean, maybe you
shouldn't. No, some do, but yes, right, you shouldn't.
Some do, right? And then you're stopping all the time and wondering why you're stopping, you know, because you haven't built the culture. But it does make me think a little bit about those beginning of the year meetings and how, you know, really those should be about culture building and getting people into the right mindset.
That would be awesome.
Things, because the learning down the way will happen, but it will only happen if people's amygdalas aren't hijacked by everything else that they have to do. So.
That's very, very true. The one other thing that I use this all the time with, the memory, cause I'll have teachers and I'll get into these arguments. I'm like, I can't believe I told them all that. I told them all that yesterday. And now like today, they act like I didn't say it. And I go, my wife tells me 3 things to get from the grocery store. And I go to the grocery store And if I have not written them down, I'm getting the wrong thing, or I'm texting her or calling her, and like literally it's 3 things. It's milk, butter, and eggs. You know what I mean? And like so I get to the grocery store, I'm like, okay, I know the milk, and so like don't be mad at that kid that like doesn't remember what the 17th Amendment is that you like wrote on the board yesterday, because
Right.
we forget stuff. You didn't remember what the principal told you at the staff meeting, but now you want your kid to remember what you said. Like, come on now.
I got a very good lesson in that, because when you loop with kids, actually, and you teach a concept or you teach on from a concept that for sure you taught the same group the year before, and they're like,
yes,
you learn this. And I'm like, absolutely you did. I know, because I was your teacher. But,
right.
But then, when you flip that narrative a little bit to be like, I did teach that, but why didn't it stick?
Right.
What was it about? Like, how did I teach that? Because that was not effective, because it didn't stick with kids. It's about looking at how we are presenting the information as opposed to looking at how the kids and or teachers are receiving the information. And again, it comes down to perspective taking.
Yep. Yep.
Can I just ask us right now to just stop that line of thinking altogether? Because as an English teacher, half my job is just teaching them how to write an essay again. And so
Right.
I will lose my job if we get them to learn effectively how to do this.
Right. But you can have them add colorful words or something.
And every year we sit down and I'm like, do you know what a paragraph looks like? Your sentences aren't even together. Why is it centered?
They don't know what a paragraph looks like?
Right.
No!
They don't
I know you can read because we've read all year.
Oh.
Indent. What's an indent? The thing at the beginning of every paragraph you've ever read. Anyway.
Doesn't that make you wonder, like, what has caused this? This is where my brain grows. Is like, how? So what is it about the way in which we've been doing that? And obviously, I think it comes down to relevance. Like, we haven't made it relevant to kids, so it didn't stick with them because it wasn't important to them.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So we remember what's relevant to us. Like, had you made the list because you wanted cookies for your butter, sugar, and eggs, you sure as heck would have remembered that.
Oh, for sure. Yes. I'm going to remember to get the candy bar when I go to check out, for sure. Okay, just so you know. Like that I won't forget.
What's the cake you make? The Snickers cake?
Milky Way cake.
The Milky Way cake.
I make a mean Milky Way cake. Yes, we never put the recipe in it. I don't think we ever put a recipe in any show notes. At some point, maybe.
Because if I ever find the recipe, I'm going to make it. I'm going to love it. I'm going to keep making it, and then I'm going to get heart disease. Good.
Okay, well, I'm sending it to you. It's so good.
All right, Erika, so before you go, we have a very, very important question for you. So we know you spent time in the classroom. We know you spent time running PDs. We know you spent time observing other classrooms.
Yes.
And we also know hilarious things happen every single day in a school building.
Yes.
So what are some hilarious, amazing, fascinating, ridiculous, unbelievable things that you have seen in all of your time?
Yes.
Oh, gosh. I mean, I have 22 years of funny stories.
I know, right?
I have to tell you that, like, being an instructional coordinator in itself is kind of hilarious in a school because kids have no idea what I do because I do it all. So kids all the time will tell me, they'll be like, after I work with them or do something with them or, I process with them, they're like, man, you're really good at this. You're really good with kids. You should think about becoming a teacher. You're your own. And I'm like, I sure do.
Nice.
It's so cute.
Nice.
So I like to figure out about, who my students are, what they like to do. And so one of the questions I ask on my interest surveys is, what is a risk that you've taken? Or, what is a way in which you like to take risks? And I just remember getting the surveys back. I was going through them and I looked at this one child's and literally at that question where it said, what is a risk you have taken? It was middle school. So that gives you a little bit of perspective. The child drew a middle finger.
Wow. Nice.
I was like, oh my God, if this survey was a contest, you won.
That's genius.
What a risk.
They're taking risks right there. Boom.
Yep. So, so you'll appreciate this to just go as a person who teaches writing. A very important lesson I learned early on is the art of pre-writing because I would always have kids write to people in retirement homes prior to the holidays, just to, give them a little bit of holiday cheer.
Yeah.
And I remember the first year ever after I collected them, I would say over half of those letters actually said something along the lines of, I hope you don't die before Christmas.
Oh, God.
So,
wow.
Which is so sweet.
It's so heartwarming, yes.
Very, very sweet. But yeah, so
wow.
writing, like talking about how, like, what is good to say and what might not be so uplifting to a person who is, in a retirement home. But
oh my goodness.
my favorite story ever, and I will end with this one, was when a kid, a student, it was actually just last year, a student said to me, and I wrote about this on Twitter. I laugh about this. Like, this is something in which I think about a lot and just giggle to myself. But this student came up to me, and I actually, many, many years ago, I went to beauty school. So makeup, hair, all that stuff has always been something that I love to do. So anyway, I always...
Do you sing that song from Grease 2 a lot?
Beauty school dropout.
Yes, wonderful.
Yes. So I was sitting in a class. I was observing a teacher, and this student turns around to me, and she says to me, do you know you don't have to wear eyeliner? And I said, okay, why? She goes, because you're a principal. And I go, tell me more. She's like, principals are supposed to be scary and not pretty. And I said, well, I'm not a principal. And she said, maybe you could be if you didn't wear all that eyeliner.
Well, that's, those of you looking to get into administration, that's a good tip.
So I just laugh at that so hard. And like out of the mouth of babes, they they say what's on their mind. So yes. So.
Yeah, gotta look mean to be a principal.
I'm known for wearing like a shirt and tie and khakis like every day.
Right.
And like when I was a beginning teacher, even like on teacher work days, shirt, tie, khakis every day. And I had a student stop me and say, Mr. Tedisco, why do you wear a tie every day? You don't have a real job. You're a teacher.
Nice.
Yeah,
wow.
And she was so sweet about it. Like, did not mean it in a bad way.
Yeah. Oh, well, I'm a big, I dress up. Like, I'm old school. Like, you wear heels and you wear dresses. So, and teachers or kids are always like, why do you get dressed up every day? I said, this is the most important place that I go. And like, kids love that. They do. I mean, I'm not saying that we should all be comfortable, but at the same time, like, kids do, like, they feel special when you dress up for them. So that's,
it does make a difference.
Yeah, I used to be of that ilk, and then I think I told you this, Tedisco, and it's because I'm aging, as we all are, but I'm going to be 52 this week, and I had this conversation with a fellow teacher because we were talking about, it was two things. It was one thing that, like, we had gotten to the fact that I talked to someone else who said that, like, everywhere they went, even though it was like a quote-unquote professional environment, everyone was basically in polos. The ties have kind of left the business world, and I guess part of that's due to Google and Amazon and all those companies that have those kind of, relaxed things going on, so people imitate them. But he's like, I used to think a tie made me look professional, and now I think it makes me look old. And I'm like, ooh, that's true. It does. So that's why I stopped wearing a tie, because I think it makes me look like an old man.
I think that's why I started wearing a tie, because
you wanted to look old.
Grow a beard,
right?
And I still didn't want to be asked for a hall pass.
Nice.
Right.
Yeah.
Utilizing that philosophy, I should stop wearing pants because they make me look fat.
So
yes.
There you go. I don't want to. Let's just dip into it for a second. I'm sure it's a quick answer. What's the answer to why are you a flying monkey?
Oh, it is because I love The Wizard of Oz, to be honest.
Is it? Oh, okay. Is that simple?
Well, it is that simple. However, I will tell you this. I did, I've been, Flying Monkey 13. I signed up for Twitter a long time ago. I didn't become active until probably the last year, year and a half, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So one day I was like, I wonder, I just want to make sure that Flying Monkey doesn't have any,
double check the Urban Dictionary.
Yes.
And I did find out, in fact, that it is associated with narcissism.
Okay.
I was going to change it when he found that out. I was like, that's perfect.
Nice. Okay. Okay. As long as it's not like, a drug or a sex position, then I think we're good. Because it could easily be one of those.
And
hey, you want to do some flying monkey later? I'm not sure what you mean, but no, I think I'll pass.
I did not go to those websites.
Okay.
Now that I think about it, maybe I should. But now that I feel like I'm associated with it, like changing it feels weird. It's just, because 13, I played college softball. That was my number. And it's a lucky number in Austria, which is where my mother is from.
Okay.
That's awesome. Flying Monkey is the Wizard of Oz because I have always been active in theater. And
those flying monkeys traumatized me. I cried the first time I saw the Wizard of Oz. And it was the flying monkeys, honestly.
Oh.
So literature fact, by the way.
Oh.
Books.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't have like an army of flying monkeys.
Mm-hmm.
It was she had a magical hat that could summon the flying monkeys 3 times, and so she could summon them to do her bidding 3 times, and then the magic was gone.
Oh.
And do you know that the whole thing is basically about the like gold and silver trade?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Capitalism.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thanks, L. Frank Baum.
Yeah, I mean, it actually is. When you read it from that lens, it is very, very interesting. But
they're really good books. It's not just one book. It is a series of short stories.
Yeah.
There's tons of them.
And Wicked is also amazing, and the entire storyline behind Wicked is actually based on the flying monkeys. So,
and the witch from Wicked is named Elphaba, which is based off of the author's name since it's L. Frank Baum. Elphaba.
Oh, cool. All I know is that I kind of loosely think that Star Wars is a ripoff of The Wizard of Oz, and that C-3PO is the Iron Man, and Chewbacca is the Lion, and Luke is Dorothy, and I guess R2-D2 would be Toto, and Obi-Wan is Glenda, and Darth Vader is the Wicked Witch, and the TIE fighters are the flying monkeys.
But to be fair, couldn't you say that about like any hero's journey story, like storyline that they're all? But I've never watched Star Wars. But now
we're deleting this podcast. You are no longer a guest. Sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say now I kind of want to watch it. You just built my curiosity around.
Oh, it's yes. You haven't watched Star Wars.
While we're
it hurts me a little bit.
Veneer of magical things, actually. A lot of Star Wars is based off of Swiss Family Robinson, because that was George Lucas's favorite movie growing up.
Are you serious?
Really?
And if you go back and watch like the old like Disney Swiss Family Robinson movie, so there's the cool guy who wears a vest, and then there's the innocent guy who wears the long sleeve white shirt, and they're both kind of competing for the love of the same girl. There's a scene where one of them is fighting a snake and is almost drowned in a river. There's a lot of parallels with Star Wars.
Yes.
In the Swiss Family Robinson, did they like kiss their sister? Because that's what I heard.
Yes. No, that's all.
That wasn't revealed until the second movie. So
yeah, that's part of. That's part of they didn't.
New
yeah,
Hope.
there's some sister kissing, but it's because when he wrote the first one, he didn't have the whole series planned out, and then he kind of he retconned, as the kids say.
Oh, interesting. Well,
yeah.
I'm gonna watch that.
Start with the original. Okay.
Start
with the original. You do not need to watch
really any of the others.
Well,
watch
no.
New Hope and Empire Strikes Back, and then
and Return of the Jedi is good.
So see how you feel after Empire.
So what's the original?
A New Hope. So Star Wars: A New Hope. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You have Disney Plus?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. So when you're not watching the Muppets, which are currently now available, I don't know if you know that, but the Muppet Show came out today. Then you can watch that. Yes. I'm excited about that.
This episode brought to you by the Muppets
and Disney Plus.
Right.
And now they can do the Muppet Star Wars special because Disney owns both of them.
That's fantastic.
Does that exist?
No, but it needs to.
I know 3 writers right here, Disney Plus.
Right.
Okay.
I need to see Miss Piggy as Princess Leia.
Oh.
Yes, we had indent paragraphs here if you want to hire us. So that's our main qualification.
Right. You know what paragraph
Oh, alrighty. Well, Is there anything else you wanted to plug other than if someone's looking to hire a principal, you're willing to take over any school in America? Is that true?
So no. Yes and know, but my retirement plan rests in St. Louis right now. So,
Okay.
yes, but I hope I don't feel like I have 7 years until I have actually technically 3 years until I can retire in the state of Missouri, but I don't foresee that happening anytime soon. So I'm just ready to. I love everything that I've learned in my current district. It's been amazing, and it has taught me that I do want to be an administrator because they've modeled for me that really good administrators stay close to kids, which is what I was fearful of. I'm ready to find a home,
Yeah.
So wherever it is, it's probably going to be here, but I'm super excited about.
Well, and obviously instead of sending them resumes, you will just send them a link to this episode. That's
Absolutely. I can think of nothing better than letting them know that I am a beautiful disaster.
There you go. They'll probably hire you on the spot.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on. It's been an absolute blast. And is there anything else that you wanted to plug or promote or anything? You don't have a book or a movie? Yes.
I'm on Twitter at FlyingMonkey13, and if you want to come follow me, I'll follow you back. I love learning from people. So other than just like plugging myself, I just say, be good to kids.
Awesome. And as we always say here at the end, stay unprofessional.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Mealy revealed that the scariest thing he saw in a movie when he was young was the flying monkeys. For me, it was definitely the nightmare sequence in The Brave Little Toaster. The one with the demon clown? Yeah, that was just nightmare fuel. Your exit ticket. Leave a comment here or on Twitter and tell us what scene from a kid's movie scared you when you were younger. Please tune in next week, where our guest will be Toby-Wan Kenobi himself, Toby Price. See you then.